was a happy occasion recently to welcome a newly fabricated large-scale bronze sculpture to my home in Maine, and I want to provide some context for its creation over several years. For thousands of years, sculpture has been an important art medium, including its role in impacting the way that we experience spaces and places. My appreciation of sculpture benefited long ago from a teenage experience that illustrated the power of sculpture to create a special place. In 1969, amidst a summer course in English literature at the University of Exeter, I traveled to world-famous Stonehenge, the 4,000-year-old Neolithic monument located nearby in southwest England. With friends, I experienced the remarkable structure of Stonehenge, together with an unforgettable summer solstice ceremony that was inspired by beliefs about the original astronomical purposes for its creation. In the decades following that experience, I've gained great appreciation for the role that large-scale outdoor sculpture can play in enhancing a special sense of place, including the juxtaposition of the natural world with human-created forms. I'm intrigued by the ability of sculpture to influence the way that space is perceived and used, perhaps making it more inviting, changing interactions between visitors, inspiring novel engagement, and in other ways creating distinctive experiences. Several years ago, the utility of part of my property on the coast of Maine changed as grandchildren outgrew the use of swing sets, slides, and a treehouse.
Okay guys, we're at Jupiter!
I decided to transform the use of that space with an immersive sculpture that evoked powerful feelings of the kind associated with Stonehenge or other landscape sculptures that I've admired. This led me to begin a design process by creating small objects of crushed aluminum foil that I arranged on my kitchen table. I was very fortunate at the time to be engaged in a project with sculptor Peter Lundberg, and we soon began exchanging photos and drawings about design possibilities for a novel sculpture installation. Our thinking quickly aligned on the concept of an assemblage of large-scale bronze sculptures that would be inviting to wander through, to explore, and to experience.
This process was just a wonderful back and forth and sending each other designs, and I think we pretty much settled on one of the earliest models that was created, and it seemed to work.
Soon, Peter engaged a foundry in Beijing, China, to tackle the fabrication challenge for this project.
So working at the foundry is a lot like the sort of back and forth dialogue that David and I had, going from the models, then back and forth, doing a lot of drawings in between, trying to figure out the configuration, the size of everything. You know, there's a lot of factors, not to mention then the artistic part of it, which is the patterns and, you know, this sort of wavy shape that I was had to work a long time with the foundry to figure out how best to do that, and it was fairly complicated. This would be one of the largest certainly group installations that I've done, and it's going to lead to other things. It's really a beautiful process, and every piece I do leads to the next piece, and it just furthers the language, the alphabet, the lexicon of working with this material and what's possible.
In the summer of 2023, containers with our sculptural elements arrived in Maine, and we began the installation process. The very fulfilling result of this effort is a unique sculpture that aligns beautifully with our intentions. A really important design point was the big arches, something that you could walk through, a sculpture that you could be immersed in.
Correct. Yeah, that's very important. And so I remember you said one element you have to be able to walk through, and that's always something very important in my work. I love it when people can be inside the sculpture as well as outside, around it, and also be able to see it from far away. Like, it'll be quite interesting how it looks from your second floor, and from the kids' playhouse here, and from all the different vantage points. That's also important. But to be able to be inside the sculpture, be able to touch it, and perhaps even hear music while you're inside.
Definitely hear music.
Definitely hear music. And imagine having a bunch of musicians out here playing around. That's all part of it. The patterns, the rhythm of life, the beat of life, all of that is essential in my work, and particularly in this sculpture. And this is meant to evoke a language. You're meant to be able to sit here, play on it, discuss as we are now, and it sort of accentuates something about life which is very important, which is gathering and storytelling, and it brings us in touch with the earth and this here, the sea, and it's so wonderful to have all the different elements around here. Thank you for allowing me to be so creative and to come up with this. I think at the very beginning, neither one of us knew exactly what it was going to look like, of course. The back and forth.
And I love that process, how it evolved, and we kept thinking about more deeply about what it should be and what it should represent and how it should be experienced, and we got there.
We did. Well done.
It's a striking sculpture for a lot of reasons, but one of the most interesting to me is the fact that it's a group of elements, and it's kind of a family, that somehow landed here in this, fabulous location. From back a ways, you can see it in the context of the greenery and the hedges, but also the ocean and the stones that are part of Proussinec's fame. I think it welcomes visitors. I think it wants company, and it wants people, to enjoy this sculpture. I was really taken with that little video you did of your grandchildren running around in this space. You can talk about all kinds of sculpture that contemporary art has fabricated and put out into the world, but there aren't so many that kids actually like or respond to immediately, at least. They also kind of, when I first saw this, the sort of surface and the reflections remind me a little bit of, human anatomy, bones and tissue and flesh. In a sense, what all these different parts are doing, they're kind of talking to each other.
They're interacting somehow, aren't they?
Yeah. They look like they belong to the same family too, which is interesting. And I, over the years that I've gotten to know you, I know that you have this family that has all different sizes, ages, and that's part of your life here. So this kind of is a nice little kind of reminder of that whole idea. Of a structure like this gateway or portal is really interesting because, again, it goes way back into human history. The very first, monuments probably made for, sacred or religious purposes. In Northern Europe especially, you find these stone monuments. But these look even older than Stonehenge. They're kind of beat up. or at least crumpled. It has that kind of quality of being both very old and very new at the same time. So you can pass through your portal into both worlds, perhaps. Art is kind of whatever the person who sees it, thinks it is, especially with contemporary art.